Been doing a lot of work with science lately, looking to how it might relate to heathenism and to other things of more subjective nature. The idea of science versus religion, science versus philosophy, science, the objective as opposed to the subjective. And there really shouldn't be opposition here. It's not either or. These are not two things that are in conflict. These are two things that are actually different ends of the same thing. Think of a bar stretched out, and on one end is science, on one philosophy, but it's all the same bar. It's the bar of human experience. We're the centerpiece here. And as humans, we have both an objective and a subjective side. So to take one to the detriment of the other, that's an unfair proposition. Very unfair. Science is something that we have to take with a grain of salt. We have to take a look at and see that it's a great thing, but it's not everything, and the same with the subjective side too. I use an analogy of mind and heart. The mind and heart together do great things. But when one is separate from the other, and that one is doing all the thinking for you, you're going to have a problem. The heart, without logic, without reason, is going to walk into trouble time and again. It's going to lead to ridiculous behavior, stupid behavior, behavior guided just by feelings without any kind of control. Now the mind is just as dangerous, because the mind without the heart is going to get into areas where it's going to be goal-oriented to the detriment of any other damage it does. It will be cold, calculated, cruel, without any thought of any possible damage or repercussions. And it'll all do it in the name maybe of science or law or whatever, but it forgets that human factor. So we have to have both heart and mind together. And when we're examining science, we often have to ask ourselves, what does this mean for us as human beings? What are we giving up? Because science, it's a great thing, it's not everything. And you say, okay, the human soul, how about psychology? Jung, Freud, yeah, that's fine. But even they didn't get everything. They're just analyzing. They're just studying about the soul, about the mind, about the human spirit, the psyche, call it what you will. But we're the ones living it. And to us it means so many different things. So we have to strike that balance between our objective and subjective selves. And just take things that we do as a natural course of things as part of heathenism. Science doesn't know what to do with this. Science cannot evaluate worship, cannot evaluate gods, cannot evaluate runes. There are correlations, but there's a difference there too. Many of our results are subjective, are things that cannot be determined, what they like to say, quantitatively. It's a quality thing. And while you can maybe come up with a price for quality now and then, let's be real. Quality is a very different assessment than quantity. Quantity is easy. Quantity is a numbers game. In science, you can weigh, you can measure, you can clock the speed and things like that. But what about quality? What says quality? What determines it? It's a very subjective thing. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. Some people can perceive quality better than others generally. Sometimes with a specific thing, most people wouldn't appreciate the quality, but some would. Quality is, again, subjective. I think of these here. Let me reach over. I have one here. And I make these little miniatures. And again, it's a quality thing. Why am I making them? Quality. What is the quality? Is it good? Is it crude? On this camera, it doesn't come up very well. And what we have here is a little Civil War guy, one of the good guys. And quality. What qualities exist in this miniature, and could you really appreciate them? Now, and I talk about this hobby especially, that when we're making these, Sometimes we try to put character, personality, individuality into our work. Very subjective, but very satisfying. And people can appreciate that in any kind of art or any kind of work of craftsmanship. You can see when someone is really putting themselves into the work. So, again, quality versus quantity. What are we putting into it? And if we ignore the idea of quality, if we ignore the subjective side of ourselves, we suffer. Because we become robotic, or we just become, to paraphrase Jung, modern man in search of a soul, or maybe modern man devoid of a soul. Remembering that the soul is not that thing the Christians say that the devil's trying to get off you. The soul is you. The soul is what's inside, and especially your deeper feelings and emotions. That part of mind, which we could also call the unconscious, but there's also the conscious side of it. What's in a word? I can confuse the hell out of you. That's what's in a word. So, again, we have to have both. One without the other is fruitless. And if we're to live as fully functioning human beings, we have to have our subjective and we have to have our objective. As we say, we can't lead with the heart, but we can't always lead with the mind either. So I want to wish you all continue with your studies and have a good one. Thank you.